Yo, what's up, family? Welcome back to the channel. The internet is in flames after shocking footage surfaced of Lil M slapping his own father, Mendeecees Harris, in public. Fans are left stunned, questioning what could have led to such an explosive father-son confrontation. Was this a moment of pure rage, or is there something much deeper brewing beneath the surface? Eyewitnesses claim that tensions escalated rapidly when Mendeecees and Lil M were spotted inside a luxury car, engaged in a heated argument. At first, it seemed like a typical father-son disagreement, but within moments, the situation spiraled out of control. Voices were raised, accusations flew, and before anyone could react, Lil M's hand struck his father's face, leaving Mendeecees in shock. Allegedly caught on camera, the entire altercation has sparked a frenzy, with fans desperately searching for the leaked footage. What could have pushed Lil M to cross such a line? Did Mendeecees push his son too far, or is there an untold family secret fueling this dramatic clash? Inside the car, the tension was suffocating, thick enough to cut with a knife. Mendeecees gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white. Lil M sat beside him, jaw clenched, frustration burning in his eyes. "You never listen, man," Lil M muttered, shaking his head. His voice was low but laced with frustration. "You always think you know what's best for me, but you don't. You never have." Mendeecees exhaled sharply, gripping the wheel even tighter. "That's not fair," he shot back, exhaustion heavy in his voice. "I've been trying to do right by you. You think being a father is easy? Especially after everything we've been through?" Lil M scoffed, turning to stare out the window as city lights blurred past. But his mind was elsewhere, lost in memories of every time he felt like an afterthought. The moments when he had needed his father most but had been met with absence. Watching Mendeecees build a life with Yandy and their kids while he had to find his own way. "Don't even start with that," he snapped, his voice sharper now. "You talk about being a father, but where were you when I needed you? Where were you when I had to figure things out on my own? When I had to be my own man because you weren't there?" Mendeecees inhaled deeply, the weight of regret pressing against his chest. He knew his son had every right to be angry. He knew he had made mistakes, huge ones. But hadn't he tried to make amends? "I was doing what I had to do," he said, his tone softer now, almost pleading. "I was handling business, making sure you had everything you needed. Maybe I wasn't there the way I should have been, but don't act like I didn't care." Lil M turned to face him, his brows furrowed, breathing sharp and controlled. "You always say that," he muttered. "But words don't mean anything when your actions don't match. You expect me to just forget everything? Act like everything's cool?" Mendeecees ran a hand over his face, exhaling. But before he could respond. And just like that, everything changed. "Admitted I don't expect you to forget. But damn, can't we at least try to move?" Forward for a second there was silence. Just the sound of the car's engine. Humming beneath them the faint murmur of the city outside, but that silence wasn't peace, it was the calm before the storm. Lil Mines chuckled, but it wasn't out of amusement, it was bitter, hollow move. Forward, he repeated, shaking his head. "How? Man, how do you expect me to do that when you don't even take responsibility, when you sit here acting like I should just accept whatever you say?" Mendeecees turned his head slightly, his patience wearing thin. "You don't think I've taken responsibility?" he asked, his voice growing tight with frustration. "You think I haven't tried to fix things?" Lil Mendeecees stared at him, eyes dark, full of pent-up resentment. You know what your problem is," he said, voice dangerously low. "You think just because you've done Better lately it erases everything from before, but it doesn't. I'm still dealing with that asterisk asterisk asterisk. Even if you're not. Mendeecees clenched his jaw. The conversation had gone from tense to volatile in a matter of minutes. He knew his son was hurt. He knew he had every right to be angry, but something about the way Lil Mendeecees spoke, as if every effort he had made meant nothing, cut deeper than he expected. You don't get it, Mendeecees muttered, shaking his head. Lil Mendeecees leaned forward slightly, his eyes blazing with frustration. No, he snapped, his voice rising. Now you don't get it, and that's when it happened, the breaking point. Mendeecees scoffed, rolling his eyes, dismissing his son's pain in one simple gesture, and in that split second, before he could even register what was happening, Lil Mendeecees' hand shot out, smack. The sound of the slap echoed inside the car, a sharp, startling crack that shattered whatever restraint was left between them. Mendeecees' head snapped to the side, his cheek burning from the impact. His eyes widened, not out of pain but out of pure shock. Lil Mendeecees sat back, his chest rising and falling with deep, uneven breaths. His hands were still trembling, his own face frozen in a mix of anger and disbelief. He had done it. He had actually done it. For a moment neither of them spoke. The weight of what had just happened hung in the air like a dark cloud. Mendeecees slowly turned back, his jaw tightening. His breathing was controlled, but there was an undeniable fire in his eyes. What the hell did you just do? He asked, his voice dangerously low. Mendeecees swallowed hard, his heart pounding. He had acted on instinct, on raw emotion, and now for the first time he wasn't sure what would happen next. The moment stretched agonizingly long, the tension in the air so thick it felt suffocating. Mendeecees' cheek was still burning, but the pain wasn't physical. It was something deeper, something that cut through his pride, his authority as a father. He had never expected this, not from his own son. Lil Mendeecees' breathing was around erratic, his hands still trembling slightly as he processed what he had just done. He wasn't even sure where that slack had come from. Anger, frustration, years of pent-up resentment finally exploding in one unfiltered moment. Mendeecees exhaled sharply through his nose, his jaw tightening as he turned his whole body toward his son. His eyes were blazing, filled with something unrecognizable, hurt, betrayal, and something darker. You just put your hands on me, he said, his voice eerily calm. Will Mendeecees swallowed hard, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He started, but no words came out. What could he even say? I didn't mean it. That would be a lie. Because in that moment he did mean it. Mendeecees let out a bitter chuckle, shaking his head. That's how you feel, he lettered, that much hate in your heart for me? Lil felt his stomach twist. Hate? Was that what his father thought this was? He didn't hate him, did he? This isn't about hate, he said, his voice raw with emotion. This is about you never listening, never understanding where I'm coming from. Mendeecees scoffed. Oh, I understand just fine, he shot back, his voice sharp. Now I bust my ass trying to be there for you now, and this is what I get. He gestured toward his still stinging cheek, his face twisted with disbelief. This is the respect I deserve. Mendeecees' nostrils flared as frustration surged through him again. Man, don't act like you some saint, he snapped. You talk about being there for me now, but where was all this fatherly concern when I needed it the most? Mank slammed his palm Against the dashboard his patient. Snapping, you act like I had a damn choice, he shouted, his voice shaking with undeniable frustration, like I wanted to be locked up, like I wanted to miss all those years. You think I didn't lay awake at night thinking about what I was missing? Thinking about you. Lil Mendeecees felt his throat tighten, but he didn't let it show. He refused to let his father spin this into some guilt-ridden sad story. Thinking about me wasn't enough, he said coldly, because when you finally came back you still weren't really here. Mendeecees blinked, his breath hitching for just a second. That one hit deep. The words hung between them, heavy and suffocating. The car, once filled with furious shouting, was now eerily silent. Then suddenly Mendeecees threw open the car door. Lil Mendeecees' eyes widened slightly as he watched his father step out onto the street, fists clenched at his sides. The street lights above cast a harsh glow on his face, making the anger and hurt in his expression even more visible. Lil Mendeecees hesitated for a moment before finally pushing open his own door and stepping out. He wasn't about to back down. Not now. You walking away now, he called out, his voice dripping with sarcasm. That's real mature. Mendeecees spun around so fast, his expression almost unreadable. You want to act like a grown man, he said, his voice deadly calm. Then face me like one. Lil Mendeecees' heart pounded. He knew his father didn't mean an actual fight, but the words felt like a challenge anyway, and in that moment, neither of them were just father and son. They were two men face to face, years of unspoken pain and resentment threatening to explode once again. The street around them was eerily quiet, just the occasional passing car in the distance. But inside this moment, inside this storm of emotions, nothing else existed except them. Mendeecees w a slow breath, his expression softening just slightly. Look, you don't understand everything, and maybe that's on me, he admitted, but don't think for 1 second that you got the right to put your hands on me. Lil Mendeecees scoffed. Yeah, and what you going to do about it? Mendeecees' jaw clenched again, but this time he didn't take the bait. Instead, he took a step forward, so close now that Lil Mendeecees could feel the tension radiating off him. I don't got to do anything, Mendeecees said, his voice low, controlled but heavy with meaning. You already get it to yourself. Lil Mendeecees felt something shift in his chest. The words didn't sound like a threat, but somehow they could, harder than any slap ever could. Mendeecees shook his head, stepping back slightly. You want to act like you grown? Fine, but let me tell you something. Real men don't let their emotions make their choices for them. Lil Mendeecees stared at him, his breathing still uneven. Then, without another word, Mendeecees turned and walked away. Lil Mendeecees stood frozen, watching his father disappear into the shadows of the street, and for the first time since this entire fight started, he wasn't sure if he had won or lost. Lil Mendeecees stood there, his fist still clenched at his sides, his breathing uneven. He watched his father walk away, disappearing into the dimly lit streets. The cold air bit at his skin, but he barely noticed. His mind was racing, his chest tight with emotions he couldn't even name. Was this the moment where the thin thread of a relationship they had left finally snapped? His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen. He wanted to call someone, his mother, a friend, anyone who could tell him he hadn't just made the biggest Mistake of his life, but before he could do anything his phone buzzed a notification. Instagram, his heart dropped when he saw what it was. A video. The video someone had recorded the fight. The slap. The moment Mendeecees walked away, and it was already going viral. Lil Mendeecees' stomach twisted. He tapped the notification, and as soon as the video loaded, he saw the comments flooding in. Damn, Lil Men's really slapped his own dad. This is wild. Mendeecees didn't deserve that. I'd get why he did it. That man been a deadbeat. This is so embarrassing for the family. Mendeecees walked away like a real man. Lil Mendeecees still got a lot to learn. The comments came faster and faster. Like a tidal wave, he couldn't stop. His heart pounded. He hadn't even thought about the fact that they were in public, that someone might have been filming. Now the whole world knew. Lil Mendeecees' jaw tightened as he scrolled. His father hadn't posted anything yet. No response, no statement, nothing, but he knew it was coming. Mendeecees wasn't the type to let things slide, especially not something this big. Panic started creeping in. What had he done? His fingers hovered over the delete app option for a second, but he knew that wouldn't change anything. The internet had already taken over. His phone buzzed again, this time Mall, his mother. He swallowed hard before answering. Mom, what the hell did you do? Yan's voice hit like a bullet. It wasn't just anger, it was disbelief, frustration, and a whole lot of disappointment. Lil Mes ran a hand over his face. Mom, it's not what it looks like. I don't give a damn what it looks like, she snapped. Do you have any idea what you just did? This ain't just some argument between you and your dad anymore. It's a public mess. Everyone is talking about it. 10 has is already reaching out for a statement. The Showroom posted it, and now I got people blowing up my phone like I need to explain what's going on between you and your father. Lil Mendeecees' throat tightened. He hadn't thought about that. The media, the gossip blogs, his mother getting dragged into it. Mom, I didn't mean for it to happen like this, he said, his voice lower. Now you didn't mean to. Yandy let out a humorless laugh. You think that makes it better, baby? You just put your hands on your father in public and the whole world saw it. Do you know what this is going to do to him? Lil Mes flinched at the question. What was it to do to him? Would this hurt his father's reputation? Would it ruin their relationship forever? Yandy sighed deeply. She was upset, but more than that, she sounded exhausted. You need to fix this, she said, her voice softer now, but still firm. I don't care how mad you are. I don't care what y'all were arguing about. You are going to fix this, because this ain't how we handle things. Lon V's was silent for a moment. His pride was still there, but it was starting to crack. I'll talk to him, he finally muttered. Yandy let out another deep sigh. I hope so, because right now the world is watching, and you better believe your father is too. She hung up before he could say anything else. Lil Mendeecees exhaled shakily, his mind spinning. He needed to talk to his father, but where was he then? As if on QE, his phone buzzed again. A text message from Mendeecees. Meet me at the studio now. Lil Mendeecees' pool spiked. He didn't know what to expect, but one thing was clear. This wasn't over. The studio was quiet. When Lil Mendeecees arrived, too quiet. His father was already there, sitting on the black leather couch, his face unreadable. The air between them was thick with tension. Lil Mendeecees hesitated in the doorway for a split second. He considered turning around and leaving, but he knew that wasn't an option. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Ens didn't look up at first. He was scrolling through his phone, probably looking at the same posts, the same comments that Lil Mendeecees had seen earlier. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he set the phone down and exhaled. So this is where we at now, he said. Is was calm but heavy, fighting in the streets like we ain't got no home training. Lil Mes winced. He opened his mouth to respond, but his father wasn't done. You embarrass me, man, continued, his tone sharper now. You embarrass this family. You think that's what being a man is about? Lil Mendeecees' jaw tightened. Man, don't talk to me about being a man when you know Mendeecees cut him off. You don't get to talk right now. You going to listen? Lil MC fell silent. MC shook his head, his voice lower. Now he wasn't just angry, he was hurt. I know I messed up in the past, he admitted. I know I wasn't always there, but you need to understand something. I did what I had to do. I ain't perfect, but everything I did for this family. Lil Mendeecees swallowed hard. He had never heard his father talk like this before. You think slapping me made you a man? Mendeecees asked. Nah, honing your mistakes, that's what makes you a man. Lil Mendeecees felt his stomach twist. Was this his mistake to own the silent stretch between them? Then finally he exhaled. I messed up, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Mendeecees nodded. Yeah, you did. Another pause. But I ain't perfect either, his father added. And maybe we both got some things we need to fix. Lil Mendeecees looked up, meeting his father's eyes for the first time in what felt like forever. Maybe there was still hope. Maybe this wasn't the end, but the world was still watching, and the fallout was just beginning. The silence between them felt heavier than any argument they'd ever had. For the first time in years, Lil Mendeecees and his father weren't yelling, weren't throwing accusations at each other. They were just staring, processing, realizing. Mendeecees finally broke the silence. You know what the worst part of all this is, he said, voice quieter now but still edged with disappointment. It ain't even about what you did, it's about how the world is watching us, judging us, turning this into entertainment. Lil Mendeecees exhaled sharply, rubbing his hands over his face. Man, you think I wanted this? I didn't know someone was recording. I didn't mean for it to go viral. That ain't the point, Ems interrupted, shaking his head. We live in a world where everything we do is under a microscope. You think you can just move like a regular dude? You carry my name, people know you. You don't get the luxury of making mistakes in private. Lil Mendeecees swallowed hard, the reality of his father's words hitting him like a punch to the gut. His father leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. Look, I ain't going to sit here and act like I'm innocent. The first made my share of mistakes, held maybe more than my share. But you got a chance to do better. Don't throw that away just 'cause mad at me. Lil Mendeecees quenched his jaw. It ain't just about being mad, it's about respect. You think just 'cause you my dad you automatically get it? Men's narrowed his eyes. Respect is a two-way street. You slapped me in public and walked off like I was nothing, like I wasn't the man who raised you. Lil MC's stomach twisted. He wanted to fight back, to argue, to hold on to the anger that had been burning inside for so long, but now all that fire just felt like smoke. A sharp knock on the studio door made both of them Turn MES frowned. You expecting somebody? Lil M shook his head. Nah. MC stood up and walked over to open the door. It was Yandy, and she was pissed. Her eyes darted between them, her lips pressed into a tight line. The tension in the room instantly shifted. Are you all serious? Serious right now? She demanded, stepping inside. I can't go nowhere without people stopping me, asking me about this damn video. Do you have any idea how messy this is? Many sighed Yandy. We handling it. Handling it, she snapped, crossing her arms. Oh, so handling it means letting the blobs run wild, letting everybody paint their own picture of what happened. Handling it means letting your son look like some out of control kid, and you like some weak father who got smacked and just walked away. Lil Mendeecees shifted uncomfortably. Mom, I know, don't mom me. Yandy cut him off, her voice sharp. You both messed up, and if you think sitting in this studio going back and forth is fixing anything, you're wrong. You need to make a statement. Mendeecees and Lil Mendeecees exchanged glances. A statement? Minds repeated. You mean like an apology video? Yandy gave him a look. You think I care about what you'll say to the internet? I'm talking about fixing this for real. If y'all can't figure this out, I don't care if cameras are rolling or not. This family is done. Lil Mendeecees felt his chest tighten. Done. He had never heard his mother say that before. Mendeecees' expression darkened. Ain't nobody saying we done, but this ain't something that just gets fixed overnight. Yandy, this ain't just a PR problem, this is real. Yandy exhaled through her nose, pinching the bridge of it like she was trying not to lose her temper. Look, I don't care how long it takes, but you two need to get your heads on straight. You're acting like you don't love each other, like you don't even care how this looks. Lil Mendeecees' throat tightened. He did care, but how was he supposed to fix it? He thought about the slap, the argument in the car, the years of built-up resentment that had led them to that moment. It wasn't just about that fight, it was about everything. He sighed. So what do we do? Yandy's gaze softened just a little. You talk, really talk, and not in a damn studio like this. Is a business deal. You sit down face to face and figure out where the hell you go from here. Mendeecees ran a hand over his head, letting out a long breath. Fine. But if we do this, we do it right. No cameras, no social media, just us. Lil Mes nodded slowly. Yeah, okay. Yami studied them both, then finally relaxed her arms. Good, but before she could say anything else, her phone buzzed. She glanced down at it, and her face immediately tensed. Lil Mes frowned. What is it? Yandy's eyes lifted, worry flashing across her face. It's TNC, she said slowly. They just leaked something else. Mendeecees stiffened. Leak what? Yandy hesitated, then turned her phone around so they could see the screen, and when Lil Mendeecees saw it, his blood ran cold. It was a new video, one that neither of them had seen before. The caption: Mendeecees' revenge. Shocking new footage shows what happened after the slap. Lil Mendeecees' heart dropped. What the hell was this? He snatched the phone and tapped the video. It started playing, and instantly he felt sick, because it was his father standing in the street talking to someone, and the person he was talking to was an LAPD officer. MC's expression hardened. Lil MC's stomach turned. Had his father called the cops on him? No. That couldn't be. That wasn't possible. Right? He turned to his hands shaking. Dad, what the hell is this? Mendeecees' jaw tightened, his eyes locked on The screen he wasn't answering Yandy's phone bust again. Another update this time from the shave room. Breaking G. Sources confirmed police involvement after Lil Mendeecees' viral altercation with his father. Details still unfolding. Lil Mendeecees, the room spin. His voice came out hoarse. Dad, tell me this ain't what I think it is. Mendeecees still didn't say anything, and that silence was louder than any words he could have spoken, because the damage was already done, and this was only the beginning. And just like that, everything has changed. What started as a heated argument in a car has now spiraled into a full-blown family crisis, with the entire world watching. Lil Mendeecees and his father were already at odds, but now with this new footage surfacing with the possibility of police involvement, this situation just got 10 times worse. So we have to ask, what do you think really happened? Did MES actually call the cops on his own son, or is this footage being taken out of context? Is there more to the story that we don't know yet? And most importantly, can their relationship ever recover after this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation nobody saw coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next, because this drama is far from over. Make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on all notifications, because the next update on this situation is going to be even wilder. You do not want to miss it. Stay tuned, because this story is only getting started.